What's up guys? Ang topic natin sa video na ito ay about sa trigonometric substitution involving a squared minus u squared. So there are some integrals that cannot be evaluated by means of simple algebraic substitution. So we need to have this trigonometric substitution. So we have three types here, but for this video, we will discuss the integrand involving a squared minus u squared. So, kapag nakakita tayo ng ganito, guys, na a squared minus u squared sa ating integrand. So, when we try to use u is equal to a times sine of theta. So, that's the derivative of this one is du equals a times cosine of theta d theta. Alright, so let's proceed to our first problem on this video. For our first problem, we have the integral of the square root of 9 minus x squared divided by x squared dx. So, many times of trying how to substitute using algebraic substitution, I think we will have a hard time for it to solve using algebraic substitution. So, since meron tayong 9 minus x squared dito, so we can say that it is in the format of a squared minus u squared. So we can see that this is 3 squared minus x squared such that our u is equal to x and a is equal to 3. Then according to our substitution, we will let u equal to a sine of theta. So therefore, we have x is equal to 3 sine of theta. So we have the x is equal to the derivative of 3 sine of theta, which is 3 cosine of theta d theta. So we have here x squared sa ating term, no? Or sa ating integral mismo. So squaring this, we will have x squared is equal to 9 sine squared of theta. So ready na tayo mag-solve ng integral na ito. So we have the square root of 9 minus 9 sine squared of theta divided by our x squared is also 9 sine squared of theta. Then don't forget the x, which is equal to 3 cosine of theta d theta. So first we have 3 over 9 here, so that is 1/3. Then we have a common term sa loob ng square root, which is 9, so we will factor that out. So this is 1 minus sine squared of theta. Then we have here, okay, this is simply sine squared of theta na lang. Then we have cosine of theta d theta. And take note that 1 minus sine squared of theta is actually equal to what? Cosine squared of theta. So we will replace that and evaluating the square root of 9 as 3. Then 3 divided by 3 is 1. So we have 1 minus sine squared of theta is cosine squared of theta. And taking the square root of cosine squared of theta is simply cosine of theta. Okay, so rewrite lang natin. Again, this one is just cosine of theta. So cosine of theta times cosine of theta is cosine squared of theta divided by sine squared of theta d theta. And as we all know, cosine theta divided by sine of theta is cotangent of theta. So we have cotangent squared of theta d theta, and replacing cotangent squared theta by cosecant squared theta minus 1 d theta. Then we know that the integral of cosecant squared of theta d theta is negative of cotangent of theta. So this negative cotangent of theta times theta plus c. So since we need to go back to our original variable, which is x, and remember that we let x is equal to 3 sine of theta, so we can say that sine of theta is equal to x over 3. So the wisest would have been here is to draw a right triangle. And then label one of these acute angles as theta. And we all know that from our mnemonics na SOHCAHTOA, that sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So sine of theta is equal to opposite na x, so nandito siya, over hypotenuse na 3, so nandito siya. So to complete the values of the legs, so this must be by Pythagorean theorem, square root of 9 minus x squared. Then we need here cotangent of theta. And cotangent of theta, or since cotangent of theta is adjacent over opposite, so what is this adjacent? The square root of 9 minus x squared divided by opposite, which is x. Okay, so this comes from this right triangle. So if we substitute, so we have negative cotangent of theta, which is 9 minus, or the square root of 9 minus x squared over x minus the value of theta here, simply what? If you take the inverse sine of this function, so this is inverse sine of x over 3, so let us substitute it here. So this is plus c. Okay, so that will be the answer for this problem. So let's proceed sa ating pangalawang tanong. Okay, our next problem is like this. The integral of x squared times the square root of a squared minus x squared dx. So again, we will let x equal to a sine of theta, so that dx is equal to a cosine of theta d theta. And remember, we have x squared na term here, so x squared is equal to a squared sine squared of theta. So let us substitute everything that we have here. We have the integral of x squared, which is a squared sine squared of theta. Then the square root of a squared minus x squared, which is a squared sine squared of theta. Then we have what? The x as a cosine of theta d theta. So for the meantime, we have a squared here and we have a here. So this can be simplified into a cubed integral of sine squared of theta times the square root of a squared minus a squared sine squared theta. Then we have a squared as common term. So we have a squared times 1 minus sine squared of theta. And then we have cosine of theta d theta. Okay, the square root of a squared is simply a. And then if we have a cubed here, so we have a to the fourth here times sine squared of theta. And remember that 1 minus sine squared of theta is cosine squared of theta. So the cosine squared of theta, you take the square root of that. That means this is cosine of theta. Then we have here a cosine theta. So this is sine squared of theta, cosine of theta d theta. So this can be rewritten as the integral of sine of theta, cosine of theta squared d theta. And then remember, I will put it here on the left side. Note that sine of 2 theta is equal to 2 sine of theta cosine of theta. So that 1/2 sine of 2 theta is equal to sine of theta cosine of theta. We can replace it here, or we can substitute it here. So we can say that this is a raised to 4 times the quantity 1/2 sine of 2 theta squared d theta. Then we can simplify it further. That 1/2 squared is 1/4. So we have here a raised to 4 over 4 integral of sine squared of 2 theta d theta. And again, using trigonometric identities, that sine squared of 2 theta is equal to what? 1/2 times 1 minus cosine of 4 theta. Alright, so we can replace it by a to the 4th power over 4 times 1/2 times the integral of 1 minus cosine 4 theta d theta. Simplifying the integral as a to the 4th power over 8 times the integral of 1 minus cosine 4 of theta d theta, this will become a to the 4th over 8 times the integral of d theta minus a to the 4th power over 8 times 1/4 as neutralizing factor, since this is 4 cosine of theta d theta. And we can say that this is a to the 4th power over 8 times the quantity theta minus 1/4 of sine of 4 theta plus c. Right. Remember that we have a sine of theta equal to x a while ago. So that sine of theta is equal to x over a. So since we have here sine of 4 theta, so we need to think first of a trigonometric identity that will reduce this in terms of sine and cosine respectively. So sine of 4 theta is actually equal to sine of 2 theta plus 2 theta. Then eventually, this is sine of 2 theta, cosine of 2 theta, or rather, sorry, this is 2 theta, plus cosine of 2 theta, sine of 2 theta. Since these two terms are identical to each other, so we can say that this is 2 sine of 2 theta, cosine of 2 theta. Again, sine of 4 theta, which is now equal to 2 sine of 2 theta, cosine of 2 theta, we will substitute 2 sine of 2 theta as 1. 2 sine theta, cosine of theta, and then cosine of 2 theta as cosine squared of theta minus sine squared of theta. So we have 4 sine of theta, cosine cube of theta minus 4 sine cube of theta, cosine of theta. So it means if we substitute it here, we have a to the 4th power over 8 times theta minus 1/4 sine of 4 theta. So this one is this one, sine of 4 theta. So if you multiply this by 1/4, so we have minus sine of theta, cosine of 3 theta. Then this will become plus sine cube of theta, cosine of theta plus c. So we need to determine the value of cosine of theta. So again, by drawing a right triangle, while this is theta, so sine of theta is x over a, so this is x, and this is a, making this one square root of a squared minus x squared. So that cosine of theta is equal to adjacent, which is the square root of a squared minus x squared, divided by hypotenuse, which is a. So we substitute it here, so a raised to 4 over 8 times theta, which is the arc sine of x over a minus, this is sine of theta, so that is x over a, and then cosine cube of theta is this one cubed, so I will write it as a squared minus x squared raised to 3 halves divided by a cube, plus we have sine cube of theta, we have x cube over a cube there, times cosine of theta, which is the square root of a squared minus x squared. So for the meantime, I will write it as a squared minus x squared raised to 1/2 divided by a. plus c. So we have a to the 4th power over 8 times arcsine of x over a minus, we have x times the quantity a squared minus x squared raised to 3 halves all over a raised to 4 plus x cubed times a squared minus x squared raised to 1 half divided by a raised to 4. Plus c. So if we want to substitute or distribute a raised to 4 over 8, so we have a raised to 4 over 8 arcsine of x over a minus x times a squared minus x squared raised to 3 halves all over 8 plus x cubed times a squared minus x squared raised to 1 half all over 8 plus c. Okay, so this will be our final answer for this problem. So let's proceed for our third problem. So let's move on to our third problem. We have the integral of x squared divided by 3 plus 4x minus 4x squared is 3 halves dx. So at first glance, we may not think it to have a connection doon sa a squared minus u squared. But if we recognize this as 3 plus 4x minus 4x squared to be completed by square, okay, or by means of completing the square. So we can say that 3 plus 4x minus 4x squared is actually equal to what? 4 minus the quantity 1 minus 4x plus 4x squared. Okay, take note no, negative of negative 4x is positive 4x, so nandito yan. And then negative 4x squared is nandito yan. And 4 minus 1 is 3. Why we do this? No, because this one is a perfect square which can be expressed as a 4 minus 1. Instead of 1 minus 2x, so iwasan natin gamitin yung minus 2x, no? So, pwede naman natin siyang i-write as 2x minus 1 squared to avoid negative sign doon sa coefficient ng x. So it now resembles 2 squared minus 2x minus 1 squared as a squared minus u squared, where u is equal to 2x minus 1 and a is equal to 2. So ano mangyayari pagkatapos niyan? If u is equal to 2x minus 1, then anong sabi natin? We will let u equal to a the sine of theta. So that 2x minus 1 is equal to, okay, 2x minus 1 is equal to 2 sine of theta. Consequently, we have what? 2 dx equal to 2 cosine of theta d theta, which is further equal to what? Dx equal to cosine of theta d theta. Okay, so this will be the value of our dx. Okay, and then take note that 2x minus 1 is equal to 2 sine of theta. So we have x squared here. So from here, so 2x is equal to 2 sine of theta plus 1. And then squaring both sides, we have 4x squared equal to the square of 2 sine of theta plus 1. Then furthermore, x squared is equal to what? 1/4 times 2 sine of theta plus 1 squared. So this will be substituted here as follows. X squared is this, so I will factor out now 1/4 here. Then I will put here 2 sine of theta plus 1 squared. Then dx is cosine of theta d theta divided by this 3 plus 4x minus 4x squared is actually this one. Okay, so this will be equal to what? 4 minus this 2x minus 1, pinalitan natin siya ng 2 sine of theta. So since naka-square siya, so we will put here 4 sine squared of theta raised to 3 halves. So what's next? So we have 1/4 integral of the quantity 2 sine of theta plus 1 squared cosine of theta d theta divided by what? Okay, we have a common factor here which is 4, and this 1 minus sine squared of theta is to quantity 3 halves. And 4 raised to 3 halves is 4 raised to 3, 64, and then the square root of 64 is 8. So I will put here now 1/4 times 1 over 8 na 1 over 32. Integral of 2 sine of theta plus 1 squared divided by 1 minus sine squared of theta raised to 3 halves times cosine of theta d theta. Then again, remember that 1 minus sine squared of theta is cosine squared of theta. And then cosine squared of theta raised to 3 halves will become cosine cube of theta. So we have 2 sine of theta plus 1 squared cosine of theta divided by cosine cubed of theta d theta. So magka-cancel yung isang theta, leaving us 1 over 32 integral of 2 sine theta plus 1 squared divided by cosine squared of theta d theta. So rewriting this, expanding 2 sine of theta plus 1, so this is 1 over 32 times the quantity 4 sine squared of theta plus 2 times 2 sine theta times 1, that's 4 sine of theta plus 1, all divided by cosine squared of theta d theta. So each term here will be divided by cosine squared of theta. So 4 sine squared of theta divided by cosine squared of theta can be rewritten as 4 tangent squared of theta, and then we have plus 4. So I will rewrite cosine theta raised to negative 2 sine of theta plus 1 over cosine squared of theta is secant squared of theta d theta. Alright, so splitting this into forms of 3 integrals, you have 1 over 32 times the quantity 4 integral of tangent squared of theta, and take note that tangent squared of theta is equal to secant squared of theta minus 1 d theta, plus this one is 4 integral of cosine of theta raised to negative 2 sine of theta d theta, plus the integral of secant squared of theta d theta. Okay, so since this one, if we let this as v equal to cosine of theta, then dv is equal to negative sine of theta d theta. So we can say that this will be equal to what? Okay, we have 4 secant squared theta here, and then we have secant squared theta here. So we have 1 over 32 times 5 integral of secant squared of theta d theta minus 4 integral of d theta minus, okay, bakit magiging minus? So we have minus 4 here, then integral of cosine theta is negative 2 times negative sine of theta d theta. So yan yung magiging neutralizing factor natin, yung negative 1 na yan. So this is 1 over 32 times 5. What is the integral of secant squared of theta d theta? So that is tangent of theta. So this is minus 4 theta. Then this will become what? Minus 4 times cosine theta raised to negative 1 all over negative 1 plus c. So we have 1 over 32 times 5 tangent of theta minus 4 theta plus 4 times secant of theta plus c. Okay. So, what's next? For easy substitution, we will rewrite tangent of theta as 5 sine theta over cosine of theta. And then we will write 4 secant of theta as 4 over cosine of theta because they share a same denominator. So that we can say that 1 over 32 times 5 sine of theta plus 4 all over cosine of theta minus 4 theta plus c, yung integral ng ating function in terms ng theta. But remember, we must go back to our original variable which is x. And kanina, ang ginamit natin ay ano? Sine of theta, or rather we have 2 sine of theta kanina is equal to 2x minus 1. So that sine of theta is actually equal to 2x minus 1 all over 2. So sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse na 2. So this will be equal to what? Square root of 4 minus the quantity 2x minus 1 squared, which actually yung 4 yung 3 plus 4x minus 4x squared a while ago. So why would we put this one into this situation? That is because kailangan natin ng value ng tangent of theta, which is equal to what? Opposite na 2x minus 1 all over the adjacent na 3 plus 4x minus 4x squared. And we have the secant of theta is equal to what? Kung ang cosine of theta ay adjacent over hypotenuse, then this one is hypotenuse over adjacent. So this is 3 plus 4x minus 4x squared. So our integral a while ago is 1 over 32, or the answer in our integral in terms of theta is equal to 5 tangent of theta plus 4 secant of theta minus 4 theta plus c. So kanina pinagsama natin yung tangent of theta and secant of theta because they share the same denominator, and evident naman dito na parehas sila ng denominator. So we have 1 over 32 times 5 tangent of theta. So i-multiply natin yun sa numerator ng 5, 2x minus 1, then plus 4 secant of theta. So times natin ito ng 4. So 4 times 2 all over the square root of 3 plus 4x minus 4x squared. Then minus 4 theta, which is manggagaling dito. So theta is actually equal to what? Arc sine of, we can say this is x minus 1/2. So this one is arc sine of x minus 1/2 plus c. Okay, so we have here actually 10x minus 5 plus 8. So 10x minus 5 plus 8 is actually equal to what? This is 1 over 32 times 10x, then 8 minus 5 is 3. So the next plus 3 yung nasa numerator. Then this is 3 plus 4x minus 4x squared minus 4 arc sine of the quantity x minus 1/2 plus c. So this can be a format of our answer for this type of problem. Right? Let's proceed to our next problem. For our last problem, we have the integral of 5 plus 4x minus x squared under the square root dx. So in order for us to use trigonometric substitution, you must consider 5 plus 4x minus x squared by completing the square. Because of the presence of 4x here, we have 5 Okay, minus the quantity x squared minus 4x. And this term should be done or should be simplified by completing the square. So we have 5 minus the quantity x squared minus 4x. So in order for us to complete the square, so we will divide 4 by 2, so that is 2, and divide it by the square root of the coefficient of x squared, so it is 1. So that is still 2, and that 2 will be squared. So we have here 4, and technically, dahil nagdagdag ka ng 4 sa loob ng negative sign, so technically, nagbawas tayo ng 4 sa entire system natin. So para mag-counteract yun, mag-add tayo ng 4 dun sa entire system para same pa rin yung ating variables. No? So yung 5 plus 4 is 9, and then this term inside the parenthesis is x minus 2 squared. This can be rewritten as 3 squared minus the quantity x minus 2 squared. And this is in the format of a squared minus u squared, in which u is equal to x minus 2 and a is equal to 3, so that we can say that x minus 2 is equal to 3 sine of theta, and dx is equal to 3 cosine of theta d theta. So we can now substitute it here carefully. So 5 plus 4x minus x squared is already this one. You have 3 squared, which is 9, minus x minus 2, which can be represented by 3 sine theta, na naka-squares, that is 9 sine squared of theta. Then dx is 3 cosine of theta d theta. So factoring out 9 sa loob ng square root, so we have 3 times the integral of the square root of 9 times the quantity 1 minus sine squared of theta. Then cosine of theta d theta. Take note that the square root of 9 is 3, so 3 times 3 is 9. Then this must be the integral of, okay, this is cosine squared of theta. And then the square root of cosine squared theta is simply cosine theta, and then meron pa tayong additional na cosine theta dito, giving us cosine squared of theta d theta. Then applying trigonometric identities, so we have 1/2 times 1 plus cosine of 2 theta d theta. Factoring out 1/2, so this is 9/2 times the integral of 1 plus cosine of 2 theta d theta. So this is 9/2 of theta plus 1/2 sine of 2 theta plus c. And remember that sine of 2 theta is 2 sine theta cosine of theta. So this can be simplified as theta plus sine of theta cosine of theta plus c. So we have here this right triangle. Paano natin i-simplify ito? Remember kanina that we have x minus 2 is equal to 3 sine of theta. So that sine of theta is equal to x minus 2 over 3. So this is still opposite, x minus 2 over hypotenuse na 3. So this must be the square root of 3 squared minus the quantity x minus 2 squared, which is also the square root of 5 plus 4x minus x squared. So we need here sine theta, so we know that sine of theta is x minus 2 over 3, and cosine of theta is actually the adjacent, which is 5 plus 4x minus x squared under the square root divided by the hypotenuse na 3. So finally, we have 9/2 times the quantity theta, which is the inverse sine of x minus 2 all over 3, plus sine of theta, which is x minus 2 all over 3, times cosine of theta, which is the square root of 5 plus 4x minus x squared all over 3 plus c. So we have 9 halves times the arc sine of x minus 2 over 3 plus the quantity x minus 2 square root of 5 plus 4x minus x squared all over 9 plus c. So this will be our final answer for this problem. So guys, kung meron kayong tanong about sa ating video, please don't hesitate to comment it sa ating video sa ibaba. And kung hindi pa kayo nakasubscribe, please click the subscribe button para updated kayo sa ating mga next videos. Thank you very much and stay safe.